G'day everyone, welcome to another on-air recording for round one now that we have fully confirmed squads. Much like on Wednesday night's part one, I'm joined by Jono, and then for the first time for this season, Mel, you are joining us for an on-air appearance. How are you feeling? Well, I'll ask Jono first because it seems like Mel is currently muted. How are you feeling about your team after last night?
I definitely think my team's got some work. Starting with DV was not the right call in the end, which was a little disappointing.
Preach.
I'm a big fan of what Jess Wrench was doing in that midfield. And, oh my God, some of these kids that have debuted have been incredible. I can't believe what Lucia Painter did in that last, third quarter last night. That was unbelievable to look at.
It was, for those that watched the men's footy, it was very Murphy Reid-esque. Just 5 minutes of pure dominance in the third quarter of their first game. It was pretty spectacular. And, yeah, I'm feeling very much the same. I regret picking DV. I regret picking Ash Centra. I regret having Wrench on the bench. So
I can actually add to that with an additional regret on top of all of those.
Pray do tell.
Which is that I also did a last minute pickup of Lauren Butler.
Oh dear.
And she didn't do much at all in the first quarter, but she finished okay. But overall, I was like, ooh, all those regrets plus one.
Yes,
but that's okay because there's a lot more games to come.
Lauren Butler did not serve up a good score, that is for sure. Yeah.
No.
Well, I think that, I don't know about you guys, but there are a lot of talking points and there are also some pivots that I feel like I need to make as a result of some of the scores last night. But let's jump into the teams. We've not kind of talked about them since they were released yesterday, as all of us were actually at the game at different points. I also was trying to make it from footy training. So it's pretty chaotic 6:15 to 7:15 yesterday. First up, we've got Sydney and Richmond. John, I will ask you first. Were there any curveballs, anything relevant that you picked up from this game, outside of the fact that Reid had been named as a debut earlier in the week as a ruck?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest curveball in terms of people who made the Sydney team. And I guess similarly, the Richmond team, to me, I don't think there were any massive surprises. I thought Sierra Greaves might have cracked a debut, but I can see she's sort of on the cusp. I guess my big question is how much do we trust where people are named? Because there's one player that I'm looking at, and it's Montana Ham, named at centre half forward. How much do I care that that's the case? Because if she's on ball, I want her in my side. If she's going to play in that half-forward role she played last season, I don't think I'm going to go there.
So here's my thinking. You don't read too much into it, only insofar as they've not named any of either of Malloy or Cynthia Hamilton in the midfield. And then if you look at the bench, they've only named one other midfielder in Maloney. And even then, Maloney has spent a lot of time as a half forward too. In my mind, part of the reason that Montana Ham has not been named on the ball is I expect that Tanya Kennedy will tag Mon Conti.
Yeah, that's a fair shout.
And as such, that kind of locks away one midfield spot. But it also means that it's a near guarantee. Well, I say a near guarantee. From a first principles basis, if you are running such a defensive role in the midfield, you will need a half forward cracking in to the forward half of a stoppage. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to generate clearance because you're essentially playing with then 2.5 players to the other team's 3. And so in my mind, I think that Montana Ham being named at a half forward line isn't terrible, and I expect her to be getting some midfield time as well.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's one probably here that I'm. It's probably the one that's flicking in and out of my team a little bit. Whilst I feel like everyone else I'm pretty settled on.
There was when you were like, "Oh, do we care about where players are named?" I thought you were going to ask about you started with Montana. I thought you were going to ask about Montana Berylson, who's been named in the midfield too. And I was like, "Yeah, look, I got a question from that on Twitter today. What do we believe on that front?" And my thoughts were not enough. But as a 549k forward, I think if it's a weird one because
she looked all right in the pracky.
Yeah, and there was some midfield time that I saw, and I think she brings an injection of speed that they might like. But I've always felt like that injection of speed was needed when they were running with, Mackenzie and Egan in the midfield, and Conti's having a quiet game. I don't necessarily feel like if Egan isn't playing and Moncon is, I don't know if necessarily they're slow, such that they need Montana Berylson speed. But it's certainly a player that could pop up as a must trade in based on the role. I just don't feel confident enough to go off team sheet and half practice match.
Yeah, I think the price point is just a little bit high for me. Like if it was in the low 400s, I'd look at it a little more closely.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's just a bit too expensive, given that a lot of us have already burdened our forward line with Darcy Vesio.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not going to really use this team sheet to make decisions that I hadn't otherwise already flirted with. So I'm not reading too much into this because it's not a fantasy pick I'd kind of considered beforehand. And then because I would be annoyed if this was my one main source of insight for a fantasy pick and then it turned out to be rubbish. I would have been like, yeah, I knew the team sheets were rubbish.
Why did I do this to myself?
Yeah. So for me, it's not worth the upside of it being right.
Yeah, that's a fair call. Anything else from this game that we're interested in? Otherwise, we will move along.
Well, interesting that Grace Egan's been named. I thought she was listed 1 to 2 weeks with an injury. So I'm wondering, she's on the interchange. Is she actually playing?
Let me just pull up the Richmond injury list. Yeah, 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I'm thinking she might be more of a
she might be a
Ash McCarthy injured, sit on the sideline, not really potentially play too much.
Yeah, or at least could be a high potential for a late out.
Yeah.
I remember reading earlier in the week a Sierra Greaves debut, and now I can't find it. And now I'm just wondering, A, what did I read? And B, was that sort of preemptive announcement before they pull something like that?
Yeah.
I've got no confidence.
And the comment that we've got here from Richmond is from their high performance manager is, quote, Grace is tolerating her rebuild really well. We will start to add her in football drills this week with the plan to expose her to enough team training to be available for selection in round 1. But then they named her as a 1 to 2 week.
Sounds like a rushed return.
Sounds like a graduated return, but they feel like they need midfield. Yeah, so that's a fascinating one to follow. I wonder if it's a bit of a low game time situation and potential for a re-injury.
Yeah, fingers crossed not.
Agreed. Okay. So moving across to Geelong and the Kangaroos, most importantly, the kind of number one most important ruck this year, Piper Dunlop, has been named. Again, reading the team sheets, named as a follower. Always beautiful to see. And then we've had a handful of other debutants. So Emma Kilpatrick been named. She's a winger, but she was taken as a winger from the Sandford W, and when they picked her as an injury replacement player, they called her a winger. And then in their posts this week, they talked about her being a defender. So that should give us some indication of where they expect her to play some of her time. And then the other one, and it's a player that I'm actively considering as a debut, is Blaheen Bogue, who kicked 3 goals looked exceptional against Essendon in a complete beatdown, mind you.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we're going to see the same goal-kicking opportunity necessarily.
No.
Quite so much.
But
in the tougher side. But we do have Chloe Shear and Shelley Scott injured, so that does free up the forward line a bit more, which I thought almost made Ash Maloney even more of an attractive option. And she's also not too highly owned at the moment. I think it was 10% or so when I looked. But do you think that leaves space for Bogue?
Well, Blaine Bogue is for North.
Oh, gosh.
I was following.
My bad.
I was following your roundabout logic, which is like, if the forward line isn't great for Geelong, then it might be a more one-sided result for North Melbourne. Ipso facto, good scoring for a forward for North Melbourne. I'm like, yeah, okay, I kind of follow the logic there.
Yeah, let's just pretend it ends there.
My question with Blaine Bogue is, we know that Vicky Wall has been put out of the side for the moment just for cultural reasons. I imagine it's a matter of time before she kind of earns her spot back. Is Blaine Bogue the first person you would expect in that forward line out of the team? It's either her or Hetherington, maybe. Or
Hetherington, I think, has to play because they don't have rucks.
Yeah.
I think that it's her or Bruton.
Yeah, which just it's something that if I hadn't done DV, I think the scoring potential is enough that I could sort of get off to a better start. I think she'll score the best of all the 300k starting forwards. I always worry if you're picking someone that you're expecting to be out of the side, within a certain time frame, you'd want to be pretty confident that you're happy with the rest of your squad. I think anyone who's not got DV, they could be in that position. I'm certainly not feeling that way right now.
Yes, whereas I am currently considering actually just starting with Bogue because of how good she looked against Essendon, having kind of watched that game with some intent, and just generally with the kind of issues that we've got picking some relatively cheap rookies, at least at 300k. We've kind of got, however many, not many others. The only other 300k rookie that's been named to debut that hasn't played yet is Bridie O'Rourke.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yes, who is a natural winger. So yeah, that's a fascinating one to follow on that team sheet. And just in terms of this game, I'm currently picking Ash Riddell. Last night has done nothing to change my opinion that already we're kind of seeing the impact in the number of stoppages and the way in which the AFLW is playing under these new holding the ball and ruck contest rules. They're more uncontested games, a lot more marks, and far fewer tackles. I think it was like over 20 fewer hit-outs in the Gold Coast West Coast game last night, and more marks than tackles, which is outside of like a limited number of games last year, a relatively uncommon occurrence. So I thought it was fascinating, and I think that Riddell benefits from that hugely given the type of handball receive and space player that she is.
Yeah, no, I was once Sheeran looked to be playing not in that midfield. I think she's one of the few in that sort of top echelon that I expect to be a top 5 mid at the end of the season, and I feel you could be pretty confident starting her on that basis. I'd have no concerns there. Are you giving any thought to running Piper Dunlop on field?
Yes.
The fact that Erica Fowler has not been named, who I was expecting to be named in the forward line, is very, very interesting to me. I know Will's running.
That's kind of what I really wanted to see, that like no chance of the ruck time being shared if I was going to pick Piper Dunlop as a bit of a conservative approach, but it's looking good to be able to put her on field. Are you going to, like, I probably, it feels like it requires a team rebuild if you don't already have 2 rookie rucks. So are you throwing it all out and building up again with Piper on field?
I think on Tuesday, Wednesday, I looked at it pretty seriously once, Will had sent through his team, and I looked through a few different options. It opens up a lot of cash. And I decided against it on the basis that I thought Keely Coyne was going to be named, and I was a big fan. But since she's not made the squad this week, which I think she's still on that comeback trail, I don't think they are backing her to play a full game just yet. I think in that instance, I'm probably happy to spend up a little bit more. And even if I keep a similar structure, I can save a little bit of money to fix up Darcy Vesio next week, which I like.
Yes, that is true, and will probably be necessary.
I feel like the fix-up trades that I'm going to want to do, I don't want to be limited by cash, so I don't mind starting with a little bit in the bank.
It is a very tough little pickle at the moment. So, and I feel like it's also going to pop up in conversation. We might have a chat about it later because it sounds, well, from my read, it looks like the Brisbane team sheet is going to throw up some queries about where we might be getting that cash to do a little bit of a fix-up, to kind of fix up the DVs of the world and pick up Painter and Schultz, Harris, who both looked exceptional. Just looking at the next game, we've got this is the Bombers and GWS game. Up front, we've got Grace Koch named as the ruck up against Matilda Dyke, which might be one of the most athletic, non-tall starting ruck matchups that we'll see ever. Ailish O'Dowd has been named to play as the last person on the bench. And there is no Fleur Davis. So that's a fascinating little situation there. And interestingly enough, I was listening to the AFLW Download podcast this morning, and there was a comment in there that I had not seen or heard or read anywhere. Apparently, Ailish O'Dowd is going to play some midfield time this season.
Ooh. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that to me means it means that this whole Goldsworthy not starting in the centre thing might be more real, because I still just can't believe that they'd leave the best player on their team out of that midfield.
Jono, of course you can believe it. It's GWS.
I have more faith in their coaching division than you do. Not much, but a little bit.
That's like saying you've jumped high in the air and it's 1 centimetre above the floor.
Pretty much.
It's a really interesting one. And to be honest, like if I'm thinking about O'Dowd, she makes the most sense to play on the wing because that's how she plays anyway, which would make for and then kind of spend some time inside. Interestingly enough, Taylor Levy has not been picked, so it certainly looks like Caitlin Surhoy will get midfield time. Maybe it's a little bit of an increase for Michaela Pounger. I don't know if I trust it, but yeah, I think that comment about O'Dowd certainly makes Koch a more interesting option as a 300k forward to pick. I think this is a perfect matchup for her, given that Dyke has been named as well as Courtney Murphy, neither of whom I'm confident will be such a dominant force that she can't at least score well. So at the moment, I'm starting with Koch on field at F5.
Interesting.
Although that's subject to some continued flicking around. I'm taking it from the reactions that neither of you guys are doing that.
Oh, I've locked 2 of my spots already. I've locked my F5 and my F4.
Ah, yes.
So not currently an option for me.
Sorry, that was not
unless I get rid of Tonin. Oh, no, all good. But it's also not one that I had really considered too strongly. But that's interesting. What about you, Jono?
Yeah, I think Koch was still in the spot for my forward bench. I hadn't heard those comments about O'Dowd playing midfield. That definitely makes Koch more interesting. But I don't have the faith in the scoring once the better rucks come. So I was looking at Bogue as one option, at Hayley McLaughlin as another option. I think it's a tough start, but then there's a few games in a row where I think she could put up good scores. So I'm a little undecided still, but yeah, I think any higher than F6 would be unlikely for me.
Fair enough. Other things to note for the Bombers, and I think, and I know this is not, I'm not basing this analysis off the team sheets. It's more just guiding a thought that I've had in the last few days, which is with Maddie Gay out, I do wonder if Amy Gaylor steps back into defence, plays the same role that she did at the beginning of last year, probably gets some more responsibility. So it'll be a split between her and Georgia Clark as the main distributors out of D50 for the Bombers. And then separately, well, clearly the Bombers have a need for a bigger bodied midfielder. And I think that Steph Kane, it will be a rotation of Steph Kane, Brooke Walker and Grace Bellany who get time in there, just because I just think that with Georgia Nanscorn and Maddie Pressparkers both being the type of players they are, if we are going up against, say, Elise Parker, we probably need someone with a little bit more height and like broader shoulders, essentially, to be able to negate those types of players. So in terms of that, I think then it makes Grace Bellany, if you were so brave and correct as to not pick Ash Centra, an interesting option for your M6 or your utility spot. I don't know if you guys have considered that. It's an option that I've kind of played around with if I am running with Zibby Fish on field, because I think she could be excellent. But it's just one to keep in mind, and I wouldn't turn anyone away from it.
Yeah, I think anyone who doesn't have Ash Centra is a very brave soul, and it's about to pay off fantastically well. But yeah, I'm not in that spot, unfortunately.
I wouldn't be putting her on field. Like 55 in the pracky was quite good given her price stat, but as part of a midfield rotation, I think she would be a good bench or utility option. And I think she's so lowly owned now that we're in the situation we're at, where Ash Centra has scored a very, very low score and was highly owned. Picking someone unique like Grace Bellany would be a very cool choice to kind of boost you up there if she does well. If she does poorly, you join the ranks with everyone else. So it's kind of very low risk now.
One to ponder. Is anyone else interested in either team sheets or just kind of generally players from this game? Otherwise, we will move down to the Whitten Oval game.
Well, what's your confidence with the Courtney Murphy ruck pick now that we've got Matilda Dyke named? I know on field doesn't play too much, but like they're both there. For me, seeing the Piper Dunlop situation makes me think that if I'm having one rookie ruck, it's going to be Piper. If I'm having two, it's probably like it was going to be a pretty good lock for Courtney Murphy, but now not so much. So I've cooled significantly, but how cool or warm are you?
I am cooler, given that, I think that of the two of them, if there's someone has to play in another position, the fact that they've both been named means that like they're probably considering Murphy playing as a taller forward in this team. And then rotating ruck through bench, and then Dyke rotating ruck wing through bench. I feel less confident in it. And personally, I think that in terms of the duo, it's probably Harris and Dunlop would be ideal if you were lucky enough to have gone in that direction.
Yes, thank you for suggesting something that's already happened.
Yes, but I'm more just kind of talking through like, okay, what other rookie ruck would you stay? If you have got Piper Dunlop on field, who are you putting on the bench?
Yeah, fair.
You could run with with Togvutmi, Zoe Vasenko.
Yeah. I'm now thinking, though, that the real person I was watching was Kayla Forbes.
Interesting.
I do think the Saints have a tougher run to start the season. I think their tough games all come in their first 7 or 8. And then after that, it eases up a little bit. So
yeah,
I would just be a little bit hesitant on that.
Yep, I agree. So we'll kind of consider it. We might talk about kind of the pivot a little bit later as well when we talk about Matilda Schultz. Moving along to the next game, we've got the Western Bulldogs against Melbourne. The two key things here, Maeve Chaplin and Kate Hoare, both named to play after having been tests on the injury sheet. And Shanae Goldrick is named as an emergency. Interesting comment, though, that I read in the team selection announcement, which I went digging for because I was hoping for some positive comments about Kate Hoare being fully fit to play. They were not there. There was a specific mention of Wotherspoon Dethridge, which is, again, underrated as a great name, given we've talked about a Zippy Fish. And Shanae Goldrick will, have been named as an emergency and will come into the squad as needed if necessary, which is, I know, seems very self-evident. But in terms of the announcements I typically read, you don't often see that mentioned, right? Just kind of specifically noting, these players are the emergencies and they may need to come in if needed.
So who's named and who's not playing a full game?
Well, I worry.
It's Kate Hoare.
Kate Hoare or Maeve Chaplin, because I think that Maeve Chaplin can do both.
Yes.
Given she's played midfield and half back. I worry about Melbourne's backline if Maeve Chaplin doesn't play. I think they could be in real strife. Given who they've got named back there and their lack of height. That's one thing to kind of keep a watch for. I won't be shocked if one or both of those ultimately are not able to play. With Wotherspoon, it's more likely Wotherspoon if it's Kate Hoare, Shanae Goldrick if it's Maeve Chaplin. So there's other things. Izzy Pritchard healthy to play, which sounded like it was very much touch and go that she would actually get up for this contest. And, of course, just with classic shenanigans, Ellie Blackburn is named as a half forward.
Yep.
Because why not?
Yeah. I'll be honest, the Izzy Pritchard one actually did change my team when I saw she was named, because I think part of the issue for Giorgio Stathis last year was that Fitzgerald was that half-back distributor, and it was only when Blackburn went down and Fitzgerald had to play more midfield time that Giorgio Stathis really stepped into her own. So I think in the Pracky, because Pritchard wasn't there, Fitzgerald was still in the midfield, Giorgio Stathis looked great. She could have just, got her confidence back on that half-back line and continue to be good, but I'm not sure what they do with Fitzgerald. I'm just a little hesitant on that one. So I don't know. To me, that's just a little asterisk that she was already on the cusp of being outside my side, and I've stepped away from it. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there.
See, I actually just think that Fitzgerald has previously just played as that rotating third and fourth mid.
She definitely has. It was just a clear role change at the start of last year. That's what threw me.
Yes. Whereas I also wonder the fact that Britt Gutnecht has been noted as playing off half-back as opposed to half-forward and has been named there too, whether that influences things as well. And it means that they may not look to put Fitzgerald back there.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. It's it was just a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And I do love that you persist with Giorgio Stathis, even though it is absolutely Giorgio.
Yeah,
Giorgio Stathis.
It just rolls off the tongue too well. I can't help but add the extra syllable.
Just it's classic. It's classic, Jono. We'll put it there. The other player that we probably need to talk about is Paxi Paxman, named on the wing.
Yeah.
Is she currently in your side or either of your sides?
Yeah, hasn't left mine since we talked about that role on the Melbourne episode, honestly. I've been very confident the whole time.
Yeah, I have flipped and flopped. I don't know how she's not currently in. I just don't know if I can trust a 37-year-old with injury issues.
I mean, you can't see basically if someone's fit, they're playing for Melbourne right now. There's no if or buts about it. So
Riley Wotherspoon would say otherwise. But yes, I hear your point. I do agree. Like if you're even close to fit, you're named as an emergency at the moment. I don't think it's going to be a bad pick. It could quite honestly be a good pick. It's more, I don't know if I want to be picking someone that I know that could very easily become a problem to fix in the first 3 weeks is my concern. Yeah. The other player to talk about, Shelley Heath at a handy price sub. She's sub 700K, playing midfield, had lots of tackles. I wonder if she's someone that scores really well, given I don't know if she's necessarily got the accumulation game, and if tackle numbers are down slightly and stoppage numbers are down, if she's going to really pop all season. But definitely a viable option I'm keeping my eye on. And then Eden Zanker, Jono, I know you've been a big fan for a while.
Yeah.
Are you currently picking her?
Currently in the side, yeah. I think Zanker and Ham is sort of a decision point for me that I'm trying to flick between at the moment, but one of them will start in my side.
Which one have you currently got?
I've currently got Zanker.
Ooh. Mel, how are you on this one?
I don't have either Zanker or Paxman. Melbourne feels like a little bit of a danger zone for me.
Danger zone is where you get value, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the thing, Mel, that got me over the line on this was I've told you I haven't released it for everyone to read yet, but at some point tonight I'll be putting out that ladder predictor for the entire season. And Melbourne have just such an incredible run this season. And I really find it hard to see them not coming top 8. I think it's very likely they finish top 4. Like the Bulldogs are honestly probably in the top half of difficult games they play this season, which is a little bit strange to say.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that the forwards can cash in. Paxman pushing forward on that wing could also cash in. It's a very hopeful thing. And the injury front definitely has me a little more nervous on it than I was, say, 2 weeks ago. But
I think in my position, I'm already knowing that there's a few. Oh, sorry, Jono.
No, you
can. It must have flagged. I think in my position, knowing that I've already got a few fix-ups to do next week, Melbourne, like you said, there's the potential there. And, you know, lots of injuries breed lots of opportunities plus the run. But I want to see a little bit how it plays out first before I make any calls now, given I'm already in a bit of a damaged position. So then next week, it'll give me a good opportunity to kind of jump on whatever we see really working for Melbourne, as I will probably need to fix up, well, definitely my forward line, but probably my back line a little bit too. But I'm looking forward to you starting either one of Zanker or Paxman so that I can copy that.
Wonderful.
Nice to know that we're keep being open and honest about stealing each other's teams. It's refreshing. Anyone else from this game that anyone wanted to talk about? Anything flashed as interesting, or can we move to Sunday?
I think we can go Sunday, and we just had the extended teams refined.
Confirmed. Yes. Yeah, this is a real pickle because we've got first up Jono's Hawks against Brisbane up at Brighton Homes Arena. First things first, where is Bree Conan going to play?
Yeah, well, this is where we go on the team sheets thing. Yeah, it's how much do we trust it? But I want to read you something because obviously we've got Zippy Fish, but there's another fish in the AFL community right now, and it is Michael Whiting, who put out an article on Brisbane today. And I wanted to quote this because he had an interview with Coach Starcevic, who said they will continue to explore positional versatility this season. Conan has evolved from one of the competition's best intercepting defenders to someone that can impact in the midfield. Ellinger has moved from the wing to a running defender. Spark from a bullish midfielder to a damaging half forward. So to me, I think it's going to flip around a lot, but I do think Conan is going to have time in the midfield. It may not be like every game that she's in there, but I think across the first however many rounds, she'll be in there enough that I think she'll beat her last season average.
Yeah. And I think this game particularly feels like a Brie Conan, you go and have a defensive in and under midfield off against Eliza West.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bell Dawes, you go run around with Emily Bates. You guys are bull at a gate and, play and kind of know each other's games very well. And then we'll rotate everything else. That's what it feels like to me. Ali Anderson, you might have it might be a bit of a train, like West is trying to go to Anderson and Conan is trying to go to West type of situation.
Yeah. And I mean, Sheriff's a bit of a bigger body, so that's another player you'd want some size against. It sort of depends on what the different matchups are.
Do we think that there are enough defenders though named on the interchange? So Shannon Campbell is one.
Yep.
Do we think that possibly that Shanae Davison is?
Yeah, I think Davison, but also you've got Charlotte Mullins on the wing, who I think has played a little bit of halfback as well.
Yes, and was kind of mentioned as probably playing some time off halfback this preseason. And Evie Long is a kind of natural replacement on that wing, as is Sophie Conway, who's been named in the middle.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I think I'm still going to be picking Conan, but that was certainly one of the things that I was most wanting to see from these team sheets. In terms of the kind of other players that we've been thinking about picking, Jono, you were interested in Hayley McLaughlin, and another player who is cheap is Laura Stone, both of whom are in the forward line. Do you have any confidence in one or the other? Both? What are your thoughts on picking them?
Yeah, so I think Laura Stone's probably going to play more through the middle than she is the forward line, would be my understanding. I think that's where they see a long term. So I think she'll rotate half forward and midfield, but probably have longer times on the bench so that she can, keep that energy up in the middle. Whilst I think Hayley McLaughlin turns into a long-term forward. But I think McLaughlin just looks fantastic in that pracky. And I think this week's going to be a tough one. But the next couple matches for the Hawks, I think, will be pretty promising for both those two. So I'm leaning towards McLaughlin just because I think her role is a bit more consistent. She'll be on the field a bit more. But really, I mean, both of those two have been in and out of my F6 spot this season.
It is. It's one that, I would have loved to have maybe seen a little bit more scoring from Stone, given I expect her to have a better role. But I do worry that she might be.
Pracky wasn't confidence inspiring, even if the role was
absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just like her dash. I think she provided a lot of run, and it was like exciting football, but it would end in a handball, so it would be a low-scoring possession. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And obviously, neither of them are basement. Stone is 326 and McLaughlin is 363.
360.
So
it's a little bit more, yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive, but not outrageous to have that running on your bench. So one to absolutely consider. If you had to definitively say, Jono, you were picking one of them, who would it be?
If I had to pick right now, I'd pick McLaughlin.
Okay.
That's what I've currently got.
Yep. I other players that are obviously considering, I don't think anything changes from the team sheets or from what we've seen. Jade Ellinger, absolutely one to consider. Najwa Allen kind of flashed late. I don't know if I have enough confidence in where she's going to play or if she's playing every week, particularly now that Coyne hasn't been named, to feel confident. I don't know about you guys, but that's where I'm sitting on that selection. And
yes.
I
might just jump in and say the Coyne situation was one that I'm thinking I might need to. Well, I will need to redo my team because I don't want an emergency on my side. And she has kind of landed there for now. So yeah, that is annoying because she was on the extended interchange and it's like, I have to wait to see where this goes. But yes, and also I do need to jump off now, so I might leave the rest of the teams in your capable hands.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Easing back into the on air.
Yes,
we'll join you next time.
Back into the chaos that is a live recording and the technology that comes with it. We will, everyone will hear your thoughts on, early next week.
Excellent. Chat to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. So, Jono, moving down now to the next game, which is St Kilda against Adelaide. I'd say the most important one in my eyes, Beck Ott named and Reen Karras not named only as an emergency. It's a good sign in my eyes. Terrible matchup for a ruck. But if you were
Rice is so cheap though.
Yeah, and if you were a bit like me and you're sitting there going, I've got currently Wrench sitting at D6, maybe I just pick Ott so that the structure is more what I like. That's where I'm currently thinking. So I may end up pivoting down one defender. I'm not sure who it is yet. It could be McCormick, who I've currently got in my side, down to Ott, which would allow me to have a bit of extra cash saved over.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you've got Keely Coyne, I think Beck Ott is a nice little transition down. The other player to think about is Brooke Tonin, named on a bench. I'm not reading much into that, and that was actually a question that we've got to consider. Sorry that I don't have the person who asked it, but I'm not reading too much into that. Have you kind of firmed on picking Tonin, or have you been a bit like me and decided to fade just based on just concerns about scoring?
No, I think I'm willing to back it in. Unless my restructure with if I do end up going Lucy Wales down, then I think, that Tonin spot, which is my F5 right now, could be going up, I guess. But for the moment, I think I'm happy playing her. I still think she'll be a pretty reliable player. I don't see anyone on that bench taking her spot. Like, I can see Stevie Lee Thompson coming in, but I don't think Tonin's sort of halfback role is up for grabs. So I feel relatively confident there.
Yep, that's a fair call. And yeah, in terms of I guess we should have done this for the last one, but the emergencies for this game for Adelaide are Keely Custerman, Brooke Smith, and Stevie Lee Thompson, as you mentioned. And then for St Kilda, it's B. Jacobson, which is a serious fall from grace from a premium scorer about 3 years ago to not playing round 1, 2025, Reen Karras and Lilu Hung.
Yeah,
another player.
BJ going, like, that's wild to me that she's not playing. She's been such a stalwart of that backline for so long.
Yes, but I do kind of understand it if they, as I kind of expect, Ella Friend might be more a defender than she is as a forward this year. They've got Alice Burke as well. It does seem like they probably don't need another tall defender, given that Paige Trudgeon is their lockdown, Serene Watson's their interceptor, Stevens and Priest are both mid-sized.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, another thing that surprised me was I really thought Hannah Priest looked excellent in that practice match against Freo as I suppose, another exit kick down forward, sort of take the pressure off Jessie Wardlaw. I thought her, Wardlaw, and Basanko were going to be the three talls that sort of anchored that forward line. So I was a little surprised that she's been named in the back pocket. But
It does
think
feel
they
like
do
a
have the
little bit of
defensive heights
shenanigans
that
here.
they can flip it around still. So who knows?
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, the other player to probably think about if you are looking for some cash and were previously running with an overpriced midfield, or let's call it premium heavy midfield, is Georgia Patrikios.
Yeah.
Again, another
no, certainly
one
one to
reading
tempt.
into the team sheets. Janome Anderson named in the midfield and Patrikios named at half forward, which is where she spent some time last year. Anything you're reading into that? Anything to turn you off picking her if you were considering doing that?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I think that, even in their, I suppose, midfield times, they often run off the wing. I think they just get involved in that transition ball more so than they do at stoppage. So I think they'll be fine regardless.
Yeah, that's a fair call. In terms of Adelaide, the kind of main one you have to consider was, one of the outside of Ebony Marinoff, where it's obviously not going to change, and Brooke Tonin, the one we've already discussed. I think Sarah Goodwin, I don't know how confident I am in her scoring, at least in the first part of the year. Don't know if she's going to get all that midfield time. And then Tia Charlton was someone who'd missed the pracky, now been named. I expect she's probably a higher priority for midfield time for them. Now, Hannah Ewings has been named, but I do wonder if it's going to be a lower time on ground role. And then they've confirmed, obviously, India Rashid will debut, has great scoring pedigree, is quite expensive as a pick, and also as a midfielder, probably not getting that much midfield time. But look, let's not completely throw the baby out with the bathwater and say she's no chance given kind of what we saw from the draftees last night. Certainly possible that she could be someone that we need to consider next week. At the moment, though, I just don't have enough confidence to pick.
Yeah. It's a difficult one because I feel like Adelaide has probably the toughest fixture of anyone this year. And so it's just, I don't know, picking anyone that's sort of more the top end that isn't Marinoff, it just gives me a little bit of concern after that early run. And then coming down to the bottom end, I would expect that against St Kilda or against the Giants that Rashid could score well. But after that, you've got games against the Lions, against the Hawks. Like, what can you really expect in those tougher matchups?
Nothing that inspires much confidence. All right, let's move to the final game of the round, and this is Port Adelaide against Fremantle. Just looking at the players that have been named as emergencies. For Port Adelaide, it's Chloe Gaunt, Kobe Morgan, and Lily Patterson. And then Pip Seth, Joanne Craig, and Holly Eifold for Fremantle. Up front, we've got, just kind of looking at the team sheets, classic Fremantle, Megan Kaufman named in the middle when all reports were that she was playing mainly as a forward this preseason. So thank you. It's very helpful, Fremantle. I wasn't confused enough already. Tanisha Kikoak has managed to get up and is healthy, which is certainly important for Fremantle's forward structure.
Yeah, that's an important one for sure.
And then a player that I've been wavering on this week just because of the price and the fact that I may need some more cash to fix up players next week, Ange Stannett named at halfback, which is where she's spent a lot of time in her kind of pre-2023 era. Do you think that she plays the same role again? Does she move back to halfback? Is it a midfield role? Are we just being spun on a merry dance and it could actually be an incredible role?
Yeah, this is probably, of all the team sheet shenanigans that's gone on, I mean, we've heard from multiple sources that she's been training midfield and forward this year, and Gabby O'Sullivan's been playing off halfback. We then saw that in the match sim and in the practice match, and yet here they've flipped them on the team sheet. I
hate it.
I would be so surprised if she played off halfback. She might do it because Fremantle love the versatility of all their players, but geez, it would be a real curveball. Like, this is the sort of thing where I'm happy to ignore it, and if it goes wrong, just say, that's on Fremantle. That's not on me.
That's not for me for misreading something in the preseason. Well, The other player that I want to talk about, and it is about rucks, and we've kind of mentioned it already, is Matilda Schultz. But I do believe Bales has kindly jumped on to ask a question about Matilda Schultz. Bales, are you there, mate?
G'day, boys. How are we? Good to have some AFLW footy back.
G'day, Bales.
Yeah, so I guess the thing I've been tossing up, I guess, since last night, obviously seeing Lucia Punter just go absolutely ham in that, was it second or third quarter, which he got 3 goals and put up a big score, Havana Harris, and we're going to need cash to get these players in because of the big, I guess, price increase that they're going to see. And you guys talked a little bit about it before with the rucks, with having a Piper Dunlop potentially as R1. I've been contemplating and want to get your boys' thoughts on if you're going a Schultz all the way down to whether it be a red dot and you can have a look at Piper Dunlop, or you just get in someone for cash like a Courtney Murphy, play Dunlop at R1. Maybe you can upgrade if it's a Bree Cone to someone that you want more in defence, or if it's a Tonnen up to a Piper Window or anyone like that. Bank 200-300K and then get prepared to use that cash to get Painter and Havana Harris in as your R2 next week. So that's just something I thought I'd want to hear your boys' thoughts on that, just because I've considered it, but I don't want to completely wreck my team and then all of a sudden it's like, well, Matilda Schultz puts up massive score, you get rid of players that you'd otherwise want to have, and then all of a sudden you're in more of a pickle than what you already started with.
Oh, so I'll answer this. Yes, I've considered it. At the moment, the reason why I'm not doing it is I am concerned by the fact that, A, I'm not sure that there's another rookie ruck that I really want to pick outside of the kind of 2 we've already discussed. Given that, we've already had Havana Harris play. I don't feel confident in picking Basanko or Reed. Murphy dual rucking. And then Taylor Gregory was not a great scorer. Even then. I don't know about you guys, but that kind of rules it out. Rules it out for my team at least. Yeah, and I'm considering alternative options to kind of make it work and trying to save some cash, or at least pivot to some less risky options to avoid getting in a position where I can't get some of these, the kind of Painter and Havana Harrises of the world.
Yeah. I feel like it is one of those things where I just don't want to be stuck with a player that I don't want in an R2 position. And I can see myself, I think as much as I'm looking at it, I can also see myself sort of this week that I think is going to have a pop score, and then look to trade that down next week so that I end up with Piper Dunlop and Havana Harris. I can see that as another option where I'm sort of planning something like that, or trying to use my utility to move Centra sideways. Since she's already got the cash on top of her head, it might be a little bit easier to reach Havana Harris. I definitely want to have a little bit of cash in hand, so I'm going to be looking to save a little bit, just because I don't think the forward options are necessarily there for Vesio, who I know I want to move on. But I suppose it depends which players you're looking at trading out next week, as well as those that you're bringing in.
At the moment, I'm in a similar spot to you, where I'd want to probably try and put the cash on top of Centra. Just given I think that at this rate, Centra is probably going to be down in the 300Ks for a few weeks before she can pump back up again with some extra fitness and a better role. Yeah,
the other question that I have, and it's like, Lucia Painter was incredible, and so was Havana Harris. But I feel like it's on the easier side of the matchup for both those teams, because Lucia Painter was incredible, but she was playing essentially full forward the whole match. She was just unbelievable in that role, and there was a lot of forward entries against the Gold Coast. How much of the opportunity are they going to have against the Saints when they play them, or against the Bombers, I think, next week?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very uncertain, because I don't want to trade someone who's had this massive score and then suddenly they fall off a cliff, even though she did, I don't think you could ask much more of someone playing that role. It's how much do you believe in role versus, a player just sort of overcoming all because they're that good.
Yeah, and I have the same thoughts about Havana Harris, to be perfectly honest, given the players that she was going up against. It's not exactly the strongest line for West Coast, and they then did lose Schilling too.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
And also, if and when Jupai returns, I wonder if Harris is actually therefore not always going to be the target. And also just like the thing that really pushed me off picking Harris at all was I cannot say more strongly how little what I saw last night resembled what happened against Geelong, who just completely, just shut down all ball movement for Gold Coast. And that's probably their biggest issue, is that their ball movement looked pretty rough still. But it was against a West Coast team that is still very young, implementing a new defensive style this year. And I kind of mentioned it in Twitter earlier today. I wonder if they're still confident in their midfield mix and their clearance balance. I think they were beaten like 8-2 in centre clearances, and then only basically held even on non-centre clearances. I wonder if they might be looking. Yeah, they're an unsettled side, and Gold Coast were able to exploit that to some degree. So I don't want to be overconfident in saying, yep, absolutely, these are players to have on field. I want to have probably one of them at least for the cash generation, just because their break-evens will be very low. They'll probably shoot up for 2 weeks. I'm not so confident that I think they're going to score well the entire time.
Yeah. There are teams that have that ceiling.
I was just going to say, last part, I was just going to ask about this. I'll let you boys wrap up the last game and that. Is there a score from Piper Dunlop, if she is your R2, that you'd go and consider bringing in a red dot? Like, would you take an 80, 90 type score, or is it just you're like, no, out of the question, you just rather get that cashed in for round one?
I think I'd prefer the cash gen in my side, given I'm running with a midfield where I don't know how much I'm going to want to trade them out in the first month.
Yeah. I think cash gen is going to be big this year. I think getting to that full side is going to happen earlier than any year previously that we've seen. We're seeing teams that, with the value we've got in Too Good and Stannett and other players like that, Bowers and Praspargas, I think we're going to see completed sides a little bit earlier this season. So I would be very hesitant sort of losing that cash race too early in the season with a red dot in round one.
Yeah, I'm 100% the same. And it's a question that's been asked quite a few times in the comments, and I have seen, sorry, we haven't got to them yet. I've tried to kind of answer them as we've gone along. Is there a red dot worth picking to take Wrench's score in your defence? And is it Paxman, or if you're someone like me with O'Shea, worthwhile picking instead?
Yeah, I had one floated to me earlier today, which was trading in Emma Carney early and just holding her and taking Wrench in the meantime, which if she was coming back next week, I could see. But I think when it's something that's just a little bit too long to be holding, and I wouldn't want to end up with a dead spot. So it just leaves me a little bit nervous. I think you're better off, just trying to figure out someone who will put up a decent score this week. It could be Rebecca Ott, honestly. I think with that role, she could go 50, maybe 60. And then next week, flipping Wrench on field.
Yeah. And the other thing for me, at least, I do wonder, as good as Wrench looked, as I kind of said, I'm not sure that Daisy will be happy with the fact that they were beaten so much in centre clearances, and then also the fact that they're short another defender now that Beth Schilling is out. Whether or not Wrench is going to be a midfielder the entire season, and we kind of discussed it on Wednesday, those comments that we got weren't exactly, yep, she's 100% locked into midfield, she won't be going back to defence, she's just been too good. It just kind of means that I don't want to be locking myself into a red dot on the bench in defence. And I kind of did have a look to see if there were any red dots in the 300k bracket who might come in and play early. I'm not confident enough to say that there is one.
If only Charlotte Riggs was listed as a defender, I'd feel a lot better.
Yeah, well, she should be, but that's a complaint for champion data. Okay, we quickly got to get through this last game because the Sydney-Richmond game starts in 10 minutes. Other things to note, Piper Window named on the ball. Fascinating. Does make her an option that I might consider if I do find a way to bring in some extra cash into my side. Possibly in place of a rookie, or I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do otherwise, but at least then I know that I'm not going to be stuck with too many rookies on field in the forward line if I have to go Darcy Vesio down. But absolutely on the watch list for me.
Yep.
Anyone else that we should be mentioning from this game to keep an eye on?
Just trying to have a look.
I
I feel like there are players like Georgie Brisbane. I really liked her game. It's just Frio's early run is as tough as it gets. Indy Strom in the back line. I know that key defensive posts aren't necessarily that exciting, but a key defender with a difficult run, but also pinch hitting in the ruck. I think that's a really interesting role. As far as alternatives to Rebecca Ott, if you're not confident on that, I really don't mind Indy Strom at all. She's been in my side at different points this year.
Interesting. It's certainly an option. I don't know if I'm confident enough in the scoring, just given Strom's profile, but I think that she looked good enough. And then Brisbane obviously comes in with some pretty high wraps and a decently high draft pick. Yeah. I might have had some more confidence if Kikoak wasn't playing for longer.
How do you feel about Ella Heads being named on the wing? Because I'm surprised by how high her ownership is, but she looked pretty good on the pracky from all reports.
I don't read too much into that one. I think that Indy Tahoe, in my mind, is more likely to play up forward now that Julia Teakle is out for 5 to 7 weeks or whatever it was with her foot issue. I think they are going to need her up forward, and I think that Heads moves back, and I think that Tegan Germick and Amelie Borg kind of play as the lockdowns, as well as kind of Sachi Simon an in-between role, and then Heads and Brooksby are the main distributors out of defence. And I think that they've also picked Eb O'Day, so that's another lockdown defender. And then in terms of head spot on the wing, I think Ella Bogue is the most natural replacement, and there's also the possible winger as well as Caitlin Pope.
Yep. Yeah. That makes
All right. Well, that is a bumper on-air recording. I'm very nervous. I don't know about you. I didn't get great energy from last night. Sadly, I don't think I really had many of my picks go right. And it was only Neve McLaughlin's last quarter that gave me any happiness and confidence about my team, given that I didn't have Charlotte Thomas, I didn't have Harris, I didn't have Roberts, who looked incredible. So, look, let's hope for something more positive this evening. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone that's listened in live. It's been one of our most interacted with and most listened to on-air recordings. You'll hear from us beginning of next week, probably on Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, with our round 2 preview pod. Until then, good luck, everyone, for the weekend. Hopefully we're avoiding any chaos, any late outs. But again, as we noted, there's a few spots where it could definitely happen. So good luck, everybody, and good luck for round 1.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. See you next week.